Hi there, welcome to the start of this week's videos, and we're carrying on today with one of the Avatar Last Airbender cards. But as you may well be aware, there was a lot of Final Fantasy releases last week for Christmas, and yeah, I might have spent some of the money I've earned through Twitch on getting some of the boosters from MtGO, and yeah, got a little bit excited about some of the cards. We've got a couple of Final Fantasy decks coming up this week, and then a random one on Thursday because I was challenged to build something and it turned out to be really difficult. So that's coming up, and that's going to be a bit of fun. So, yeah, if you want to stay and see what's coming up, please, if you can, hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And thank you to all the people who've subscribed. Recently, there's 814 of us here now, so a little bit closer. Keep building up steadily towards that 1,000. So thank you for everyone who's subscribed recently. But enough of me talking and begging. Let's get on with today's deck, and it is Ozai, the Phoenix King, 2 double red and double black for a 7/7 human noble. Has trample, firebending 4 and haste. And if you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes red instead. Okay. But Ozai has flying indestructible as long as you have 6 or more unspent mana. Yeah. Talk about a legendary creature that really does quite like firebending. It's this guy, most definitely. Yeah, we like the extra 4 mana. We like having 6 mana in our mana pool, just sitting there doing nothing, so we get the indestructible side and flying, which is kind of a big thing because people forget you get sneaky to get flying once you get the 6 mana in the pool. And we just want to have lots of fun with this. So here we go. Here's what today's deck really does look like. So, compared to one of my normal decks, this has fewer creatures in it, I should say. We have 24 in total, and a lot of them have to do with firebending. So we've got the Fire Nation Cadets to kick it off. And then we've got Generous Plunderer. Not obviously got fire breathing, but the treasure tokens help, and a little bit of extra damage when you attack with them to take out some life points based on the artifacts someone controls isn't the end of the world, especially in Commander. Zuku, Firebending Master, comes in as well. Firebending X X is the number of experience counters you have, and when you cast a spell during combat, you get an experience counter. We've got ways of casting spells during combat, so it's all good. Azula, Ruthless Firebender, also makes an appearance. Firebending 1, whenever you attack, you may discard a card, and then you get an experience counter for each player who discarded a card this turn. That's fine, and then we can pump them up to give them +1/+1 and menace for 2 and a black. Boiling Rock Rioter is also in. Tap an untapped ally to get rid of some of those other cards from the graveyard. We have not many allies at all, to be honest, but anyway. But whenever this creature's attack, you may cast an ally spell from among cards you own that exiled with this creature. So, maybe. We have Electro, the Assaulting Battery, coming in from Spider-Man. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Okay, now I'm fairly sure that this does work well with the firebending mana because that says it goes at the end of combat and this says it doesn't. I think the doesn't overrules the does. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've got it right on the ruling, so that's in. Zheng Zhong, the Deserter, also makes an appearance. It's not too bad. We can exhaust this and put some +1/+1 counters on here and copy our next lesson spell we cast this turn. We've got a couple, not many, but we've got a couple. Professional Face Breakers in as well, just so we can get the treasures to help us cast things. Vindictive Warden, we can literally use all of our firebending mana if we need to, if this is in play, just to start pinging everybody. It does cost 3, so it's not the easiest one in the world to do, but the extra damage could help. Ashling, the Flame Dance, is also in, coming in from Modern Horizons 3, if I remember correctly. Again, another one that stops us losing our unspent mana, and casting instances of sorceries does us some nice things. Azula on the Hunt is also in. Firebending 2. Whenever it attacks, we lose a life and create 2 clue token. And, if we need a card draw, we can spend the 2 mana we got from the firebending to crack the clue there and then. The Firelord Ozai is also in. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, add a amount of red mana equal to the sacrifice's creature's power. And until the end of combat, you don't lose this mana as steps end. And you can pay 6 to exile the top card of each opponent's library. And until the end of turn, you may play one of those cards without paying its mana cost, which is quite nice. Leyline Tyrant, another way of stopping our mana disappearing, and then give us a nice way to sink our mana into something if it does die. So that's pretty cool. Prosper's in, the Tombbound, coming back in just to give us a little bit of fun and games with exiling cards and getting treasure tokens. Zuku, the Exiled Prince, lets us exile the top cards of our library and play them, and it has Firebending 3, so it helps us jump up our mana for the big boy over here. Cruel Administrator, if we've attacked, enters with a +1/+1 counter on it, and whenever this creature attacks, we get another soldier token with Firebending 1. Yeah, okay then. I'm quite happy with that, to be perfectly honest. Gold Lush Triad is in. I had to have a couple of dragons in here, really. It's me. And I like this one because it gives us treasure tokens, so that's fine. Karlak, it gives us the additional combat step. Ranenshaw, hopefully we'll have some extra lessons. I'm sure I've put some in here. Phew, I did. I just went and checked. Yes, we've got lessons in the deck, so hopefully we'll get 2 versions of, we'll get Ran and the Shore when we cast this. Rankle and Torbin's in as well, just to give us treasures or make people sacrifice creatures or do whatever one we want to do. And then Rough Rhino Cavalry is also in for the Firebending 2, and then we get to do the exhausting if we need to. That's fine. A little bit expensive, but it's another Firebending creature, which is fine. Avatar Ruku Firebender. Yeah, whenever a player attacks, add 6 mana. So, just you've got to read this one because this one's quite funny. If you have this in play and you have Ozai in play, anyone attacking anything gives you 6 mana, which means if you haven't got 6 mana floating, Ozai becomes indestructible for that turn. Yeah, that's just how it works, which is pretty good, really. So, there we go. I want another way of spending all my firebending mana if I can't do, well, the things we've got coming up. So Inferno of the Star Mount seemed like a bit of a no-brainer. Because all the firebending mana is red, as we all know, we can just pump it into the Star Mounts Inferno, make the Star Mounts, Inferno of the Star Mounts massive, and then hopefully get that power up to 20 so it deals 20 damage to something. It can be a shock, and you can do it with this deck. I have done it in play testing, so it does work. Morag, Fury of Kakum is also in. Just remember, the usual ruling comes in for Morag. Make sure you play the land in your second main phase to get your additional combat step. Just put it out there. Sorceries, well, here we go. We have some of our fun stuff coming in now. Iroh's Demonstration for either 4 damage to a creature or 1 damage to each creature an opponent controls. And we have got lessons, you'll see them coming up now. The Price of Freedom I like, just to take out annoying land. Gaia's Cradle springs to mind, something similar. Or we can take out an annoying artifact if we need to. Ozai's Cruelty just gives us 2 damage to a player, and that player discards 2 cards. And then start from scratch, 1 damage to any target, or destroy target artifact. Again, quite fun. Illuminate History just gives us a way to discard cards, draw cards, and then, you know, if we've got 7 or more in our graveyard, we get a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. Zozin's Comet is even more fun though. Additional versions of firebending on each creature we control. Yeah, okay then. That seems like a good plan if you ask me. So that gives Ozai over here the equivalent of firebending 9. Yeah, we've got lots of things we can do with that, I'm sure. Assuming we can keep our mana, Full Throttle's in for an extra couple of its combat steps, and Fury of the Horde is also in, so we can exile exile a couple of red cards and basically get another combat that way. From there, we've got the instance, so firebending lessons in is a bit of a no-brainer. Great Train Heist is quite fun because we can get the firebending mana, then play this. For 4 mana, we get to untap all creatures we control. If it's our combat phase, there's an additional combat phase after this. Or we could do for 6 mana, do the first bit, and then get everyone +1/+0 in first strike. And if we've got 7 firebending mana coming, which is, like I say, doable with this deck, choose target opponent. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to that player this turn, you get a tap treasure token. Yeah, it is pretty. It's as good as it sounds, basically. It really is. Lightning Bolt, just for 3 damage to anything. Combustion Technique just deals 2 damage to anything plus number of lesson cards in our graveyard. And also, if that creature, if we would die this turn, we basically get to exile it. That's fine. Communal Lava, just another way of spending our firebending mana. If we need to exile some cards from top of our library, we get to play them until the end of our next turn. Duelist Flame comes in from Final Fantasy. Until the end of turn, target block creature you control gets +X/+0 and gains trample. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library, exile up to one non-land card from among them and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Yeah, I like Jeweler's Flames. This is going to probably start turning up in quite a few of my red decks going forward. I think it's a fun one. Infernal Grasp for a little bit of targeted removal along with Terminate. The last Agni Kai is also in as well, just so we can do some fighting. If we've got an indestructible creature, that's quite nice. Getting the extra red mana is also good, and another way of keeping our unspent mana until the end of turn. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end, so yay. Sounds good to me. Bedevil for a bit more targeted removal. Chaos Warp just to take care of that annoying thing you've got no way of dealing with otherwise. Yeah, something that's indestructible maybe. Colligan's Command for a little bit of artifact destruction and some damage dealing. We can return a creature card at a push if we need to, so it's alright. Fire Nation Attacks for 5 mana gives us 2 soldiers with firebending, and we can flash it back for 9, so they do help build up for the next turn. Overwhelming Victory deals 5 damage to target creature. Each creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is the amount of excess damage dealt this way. Yeah, this can give you a win from nowhere. And finally, Savage Beating. Cast this only during your own turn, only during combat. Creatures you control gain double strike until the end of turn, and then we get or we can untap all creatures we control, and there's additional combat step, or we can just pay 7 mana and do both and really upset our opponents really quickly. From there we have our artifacts, and they are mainly ramp, I'm going to be honest. We've got Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman. The Elixir is here to shuffle everything back in when it goes pear-shaped. Soul Ring, Signet, Doubling Cube does serve a purpose in this deck. You are going to be getting a lot of firebending mana. You can pay the 3 mana to tap this and use 3 of the firebending mana that you've managed to generate to double up what's left of it. It's just good. Jet Medallion, Ruby Medallion for cost reduction. Some boots just give Ozai a little bit of hexproof, so we can keep on going if we need to. Talisman of Indulgence for some ramp. Fire Nation Turret. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+0 and gains firebending 2 until the end of turn. Oh look, put it on Ozai, and Ozai becomes a 9/7 who basically has firebending 6. Yeah, okay then, fine. Oh, then we could just put charge counters on this artifact for red, and remove 50 charge counters from this artifact, and it just basically shoots someone in the head for 50. Yeah, like that. That's fun. Last one, Tundra Tank. Yes, we have to crew it, but it does make a creature we control indestructible until the end of the turn. Oh, the turn it comes into play, sorry. Has firebending 1, and the crew one's not that bad, really. We can crew one of the creatures we don't really need to do anything with. That's fine, or something that's got Summoning Sickness. Enchantments are special. Aggravated Assault, play it for 3 and then use 5 of your firebending mana to give yourself. Untap all creatures you control after this main phase. There is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast sorcery. Yeah, you do need to keep your mana around. I'm aware of that. That's why we've got so many creatures that let us keep our mana around. But yeah, who doesn't like the idea of paying for extra attack phases? Yeah, no one. That's it. Everyone does. That's cool. Fated Firepower comes in. Enters with X fire counters on it, so you want to 4 or 5 mana. And if a source you control deal damage to an opponent or permanent, an opponent controls it deals that much damage plus the amount of damage equal to the fire counters on it. Fire Nation Occupation comes into play, gives us a soldier with firebending for 2/2, and then whenever you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, you get to get a 2/2 soldier with firebending. The Legend of the Rocco also makes an appearance. Exile top 3 until the end of our next turn. You may play those cards, add 1 mana of any colour, and then we can exile this saga and return it to the battlefield transformed as Avatar Ruku. Yeah, firebending 4. Create for 8 mana, you get to create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying and firebending. It's kind of good. Likewise, the Rise of Zozin is also good. 6 mana, blow the board up. Chapter 2, choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name, exile them, and then they shuffle it. Yeah, not so great. But then when you can exile, wrong one. When you can exile the Rise of Ozin, you get to have Fire Lord Ozin come into play. Menace Firebending 3. Whenever Fire Lord Ozin deals combat damage to a player, you may pay X, and when you do, put any number of target creature cards with a total mana value X or less from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under our control. Yeah, okay then, that's pretty good. Finally, from there, we just have our usual selection of red and black lands. Nothing particularly fancy here that you haven't seen before. 10 mountains, 10 swamps, maybe a little bit high, but we have got Temple of the False God and Reliquary Tower, so I went a bit heavier on the basics. And left the Tomb of Yawgmoth at home for a change, and that's it. That's my take on Ozai to start off the week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments down below where I went wrong, because undoubtedly I have done somewhere. I do like reading the comments. I do respond to them all. But please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Please cheer for the video if you're watching this on a mobile mobile device. I don't know why I said application, but anyway, you know what I meant. The cheers help out as well, so that's really cool. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, going back to Final Fantasy, so come back tomorrow. See you then. Bye.